guys, I walked 144 kilometers barefoot once around the entire island of Tobago, and this is the story. As most of you guys know, I walked once across Trinidad with shoes actually this time, and yeah, I posted on social media and went absolutely crazy. Like, so many people were interested in that. I went on television, I went on news. And after I finished this, a lot of people were writing me, yeah, Tobago is also part of the country, you should walk Tobago too. And I thought to myself, you know, maybe why not, you know? And yeah, then I got in contact through a friend whose daughter is affected by lupus, with an organization called Voice of Lupus, and they were looking to build like a small clinic. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna help them raise some awareness, raise some funds for lupus, and with that I'm gonna walk once around Tobago. So basically the evening before I wanted to go to Tobago, I wanted to meet up with a YouTuber friend of mine called Christmas List. But in that evening he kind of stopped responding to my calls, and he said he had some problems with the police. And so the next day I just left without meeting him. I took the ferry, and when I arrived in Tobago I already had some interviews scheduled. One of the radio producers told me, there is like a video on social media, Christmas List is missing. And I'm like, you know, yesterday he wasn't responding to my calls, so I decided to call him. You know, and he didn't answer. And I called him again and he didn't answer. But you know, it's already getting late, so I started to like try to find a place to sleep. Eventually a woman from Austria allowed me a place to sleep here, and in the car, you know, I started calling all of Chris's friends. I'm like, what the hell is going on with Chris? What the hell is going on with Chris? And eventually some guy told me, yeah, your friend Chris is imprisoned because some people don't like what he does in his YouTube videos. It was around like 8 or 9 at the time when I realized what's going on. I was just in this like stranger's house who just allowed me to sleep there, and yeah, I was like, oh my god, I have to do something about it. So I called everybody, and you know, I started recording videos. You know, I started recording a video for my Instagram, for my TikTok. Some of you might have seen this, for my YouTube, explaining everything I know about this thing. I don't want to get into details here. I just want to say that when I finished doing all the videos, it was already like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I had to get up at 5 because at 6 I had a television interview. It was a live interview. I actually talked about Chris missing on a live interview, even before any other news agency was talking about it. And yeah, the same time I got like a message on Instagram from a guy who was like, Bashir, he just wrote me like, I want to walk with you. And I'm like, okay. He's like, where you start? There, I'm coming. I went to like the very end of Crow Point, to the beach, and I started my very first live stream in my life. Bashir met me there and we started walking. And I tell you guys, once we started walking, like after 500 meters, I was like, freaking hell, my feet already hurt, you know? The asphalt was hard, the stones were spiky, and I thought to myself, why the hell are you doing this? You know, what's going on? But eventually, you know, I just powered through the day. And eventually I arrived at the village I wanted to stop, right? So it was already dark. I had slept like, I don't know, like 1 hour in the last 48 hours. Maybe I was super tired, my feet hurt like hell, and I had no place to sleep. So what you do in that situation, you just walk through the village, you find the bars, and you just talk to everybody out on the street. And eventually I found some guys from like, I don't know exactly, from some kind of church organization, and I talked to them and they invited me to their service. This is how I finished my first day, got my first night of sleep. And by the end of this day, I just went inside there. There was like a plastic table. I laid down and I just started sleeping. I was so tired, you couldn't imagine, guys. Started with like a lot of rain, so when we finally started walking at like around 11, the streets were really cool, so walking in the second day was way easier because you don't burn your feet. You only have like problems with the stones, so it was kind of okay. I walked through Scarborough. I did like I see the I Love Togo sign. I walked through Scarborough. I saw the I Love Tobago sign. I love Tobago, by the way. And yeah, I realized that Tobago is definitely absolutely different from Trinidad, because first of all, there are way less people, so way less people stop, like way less people know about this. From time to time someone stops and gives me food, but overall it's way more relaxed. And we did another live stream. I mean, eventually we arrived in a small village and we saw something called Police Youth Club, right? And we thought, you know, maybe they host us. So we gave them a call, and the guy, we just said like my name and what I want to do, and immediately was boom, you can sleep there, no problem. He just called actually the neighbor to open us, so we can go in before like he arrived. And when he arrived, he brought us some food, told all the neighbors around us. All the different neighbors came together, everybody brought a little bit of food. Most of them brought mangoes, so we had like so many mangoes. And yeah, the Police Youth Club was also a gym, so we did a little bit of exercise, and that was day 2. Was really hot again. And yeah, we started to walk like on the railings on the side of the road. Like sometimes it goes like up really deep if we accidentally fall down. But yeah, the roads were so hot that we'd rather take the risk of like falling than just walking on the roads, because it's just unbearable, you know? It's not possible to walk because your feet just hurt so much. It's like putting your hand on like the stovetop. Yeah, and eventually it became noon and it was so too bad, so we needed to stop, and we found a zoo. A small village, a zoo. With like monkeys, with parrots, with caimans, with wild pigs, with snakes. So the zoo is in a village, if I'm not mistaken, called Goodwood. And there were actually very famous people who visit there. There was like the president of Latvia and some prince from the Middle East, who both visited the zoo and stayed there. I think it's also a guest house. So if by any chance you're in Goodwood, visit the zoo and maybe tell them hi from the Pilgrimage of Life. Really nice guy. We arrived during the evening in Roxboro. So the thing, it was already late, so we started looking for a place to sleep. And yeah, even though I'm famous, you know, I'm still humble, and I don't expect people to host me, right? If they don't want to host me, I don't insist. So we started walking around, right? And we started asking the fire station. We started asking the police station. We asked the Police Youth Club. We asked some like company there. We asked like the sports stadium, and all said no, you know, and it got later and later and later and later. Yeah, eventually we convinced some guy to let us sleep in his wooden shack, which like a bed that wasn't that awesome. Let's say it like this. And he told me if I touched the electricity box, I would get shocked. Somebody on Instagram who probably walked a lot barefoot told me that after day 3, you're probably good because your feet get used to it. That is not the case, because after day 3, on day 4, my feet hurt even more than the day before. You know, it just kind of went worse. And probably it's the case if you'd walk less and your feet have enough time to recover. Mine didn't. And on top of that, I also stepped like on some metal iron thing, and I slid out my foot. So day 4 was kind of painful, but we heard about a local celebration called the Harvest. It would be on Bloody Bay, which is like 40 kilometers away, and it would be in 2 days. So we both decided we wanted to go to the Harvest on Bloody Bay. But for that we needed to arrive there on time. And for that we needed to walk 20 kilometers instead of 50 kilometers this day. So on day 4 we walked 20 kilometers. From Roxboro all the way to Charlottesville. And we arrived in the dead of the night at like 7 o'clock in the evening. And yeah, we just walked inside there, and there was the first restaurant called Sharon and Phelps, I think. And I just asked the restaurant owner if she knows a place to stay. And she was super kind to us. She gave us some new plasters. She gave us a whole entire room for ourselves for free. She gave us some food. She gave us everything. We could shower. We were very, very well cared for. So after having a very luxurious night, the next day would prove to be the opposite of the night before. Because from Charlottesville to Bloody Bay, it's like a 20-kilometer walk with 0 villages, so nobody who gives us food, nobody who gives us water, or you couldn't even ask for water. And on top of that, the roads aren't very well maintained, so extra stones. And it was the hardest part so far. There were mountains, there was no cell phone reception. But we pushed through it. And eventually at the evening we arrived in the Harvest. But ironically, for pushing ourselves so hard for 2 days, once we arrived at the Harvest, we were so tired that we didn't really felt like dancing or celebrating. Somebody gave us some food and then we just asked around for a place to sleep, and the only place to sleep available was the community center. Now the thing is, the harvest was right in front of the community center and the windows were open. There were just like some metal planks, but other than that there was no soundproofing. We didn't have any earplugs or anything, and the harvest went on until like 2 o'clock in the morning. And the whole night was full of very, very loud music. So we did our best walk 2 freaking days, 20 kilometers. Our feet hurt like hell, just so we could like have some little bit of awesome food, dance for like 10 minutes, and then have like a horrible 4 hour, then have a horrible night's sleep. I'm sure you guys believe me if I say that when I woke up this morning, my feet were not in a good condition. Like just literally just touching them hurt my feet because they were so sensitive from walking that much. So the only thing we could do is just walk to the next medical center and put some bandages around their feet. Also, I still had some scratches. And yeah, this day was a little bit slower. We only walked 13 kilometers and the roads were better. But believe me, if I say it's still a painful day. Anyway, we eventually arrived in the next village, and I have to say, the people were really, really nice. Because in the village we met some Rasta guy, was really no problem to finding a place to sleep. He let us into his home. He had like 2 spare apartments, bedrooms, so we all had our own bedrooms. We had a shower, he cooked some food for us, right, and we're just hoping this challenge will really end by that point. So this morning, even though we had a long rest, my feet weren't doing really well. So we went to the health center again and put like double amount of bandages around our feet. Still painful though, still painful. But we managed to somehow complete the day. We also saw this like weird huge tree, which is like a silk cotton thing tree, which is cool, that's why I mentioned it. And yeah, in the end we found a place to sleep at a house that I'm 90% sure is haunted. Like it's like a really old house, like an old lady died there, and it was really dusty, but at least, hey, come on, you have electricity and you have a mattress, but you don't have a shower, and we really smelled really bad at that point. So this morning we went to the ocean to have a bath because we really needed a shower. And yeah, my feet were really in a bad condition. If this was any other day than the last day, I'll probably put on some shoes. But it was the last day and I decided I'd power through. But we had to do 20 kilometers with my feet that day. Well, we put on some new bandages and we started walking. And believe me guys when I say it was painful. But one thing I learned is that you can deal with pain, and all pain eventually comes to an end. And eventually I arrived at the same point I started 8 days ago. I touched the ocean and I completed the challenge. And the first thing I did was went to the medical center and put out some splinters from my feet, put my feet in like salt and water. They also gave me some like IV because I was dehydrated, and did some tests with my blood and stuff. I was kind of good for most part, other than dehydrated, and my feet were well, but yeah. And luckily I could end the night sleeping at a friend of mine from the Hunters. Thank you again by that. And with that, I complete my journey walking barefoot once around Tobago. So I can proudly say overall we collected around, I think, 13,000 TT dollars for the Voice of Lupus organization. We raised some awareness, and yeah, some people might ask, why the hell do you do this barefoot? And yeah, I think doing hard things to challenge yourself has always a benefit for your mind, because you know you stop quitting and you start pulling through hard things, which is then applicable in other parts of your life. And now looking forward to the future, some people might ask what I do. I still stay another month in Trinidad. I need to prepare for Venezuela, and then I go to Venezuela. I want to live with a tribe of native people in the Orinoco Delta. That's my next goal. Thank you for watching, and See you in my next video.